Hi, it's Jane Wright, and the treatment I'm going over now is called general processing. We know that term processing when it comes to talking about our issues that have occurred in the past, and there's great benefit from that kind of talk type therapy. It helps us to understand, helps us to hear ourselves. There's a lot of benefit from it. But this type of processing is different. When you're processing what has occurred on a physical level or on an etheric level, it can't really be readily accessed through just speaking about something. And so when I'm referring to processing here, I'm talking about freeing the organism, at least to some small extent, of the condition. If we, the unexamined life isn't worth living and all that. When we haven't really penetrated what has occurred to us, it ends up being sort of like baggage. There's a weight to it. It's sort of like having money in an account that you can't get at. Some kind of event has occurred that is undigested. It's, part of your energy is just not accessible anymore. And so a lot of times people really work hard at processing the verbal way, but understanding that our own organism, our physicality, has multiple levels of processing that equally, or maybe even more, need to be attended to, because it will what happens when you have an area that isn't processed, you can't freely be there, you can't freely ray into it. You're more likely to do an automatic gesture rather than a gesture that you're deciding to do, where there's self-control. And so this is a general processing treatment that it has quite a bit of merit to it. And if we don't process our lives, then we start to be digested. The sum total of the events in our life start to be a down-tearing influence. Off the navel, there's a structure that it sounds a little megalomaniacal, and I apologize, but it really, for what it can do, it's really not megalomaniacal. There's a center here. This is occult anatomy that is between 7 and 9 inches off the navel. It is a 2-inch sphere that starts at 7 inches out from the body and ends at 9 inches out from the body. So it's right here. And this is a center that I was guided to call the divine organ of freedom. So apologies for the megalomaniacal streak of it, but you still can use it for this, even though it sounds a bit grandiose. So you have this sphere, and then you're aiming this sphere to the place where your individual spirit rays in the most. Now that's one of two places. That's either off the head here or off the head here. And you can always just aim at both of them if you don't know where your own spirit rays in the most. So I'm between 7 and 9 inches off the navel. And in my case, I'm going to aim to this center that's right here. Off the, it's sort of like out in space off the side of my head there. I'm aiming to that. And then what I do? If there's a specific event that I need to work with, I'll recapitulate that event in my head while I'm making a certain movement, which would be called an induction. And so the induction is an upside down V. But because you're not really going anywhere, it looks like it's just like this and then down repetitively. So 7 to 9 inches, aiming to that. And then, so I'm thinking of some event that I'm needing to digest while making that shape. It's not a very large shape, and it's not a very big V, but I'm not just going straight up and down. Here I'm going up and then off to the side and a little bit down. So that is the treatment. If you have to try to digest something in your life, you use your mental powers to bring those things back before your mind's eye. If you're needing to digest something that occurred to someone else, you could do this and then imagine holding that other person's third eye, which is here in the forehead, while you're doing it. So like I remember the first time I had to do this, a dear friend of mine suddenly developed a pretty bad form of bladder cancer. And I was really quite floored by that at the time. And I found myself needing to talk about it all the time, much more than I normally would need to. But it was because I needed to digest it at a deeper level. This was with a good friend of mine. So would do the same thing, aim to my own individual spirit access point, which is here, and then imagine holding that other person's third eye. And it was really helpful. It is really helpful because if you have digested what is happening to someone else, you're not thrown off by it. In a way, that other person can rest a little bit more easily with you because they're not like doing damage control, trying to have you not be having a hard time, or it just helps them to not have to tend to you in the same way. But you can go into great detail with the events of the past, and I do encourage that. You can also stay at a certain organ, like say the heart is often, the center of a lot that happens to us in life. Your heart has been broken. You can just work with layers of things that haven't been processed in your heart. It can be done in any region, but generally speaking, if there's something that you need to, like say for instance, you had a mother who was molested incestually as a child, you could go back to what you know of that event out of the history and work with digesting, work with processing it on a physical level together. And all these things help you to be more present in the moment, because if there is a lot of material from the past that cannot be at ease with regard to, then you lose choices because you act automatically rather than acting out of deliberate activities.